Hi there, and welcome to round number 5 of the FIDE World Cup 2015 being played in Baku. And this specific game was played on the 23rd of September 2015. And of the first game of the round 5 match, it's the only decisive game, so therefore it's obviously, this is the one that I'm going to be choosing to look at for the series called How the Game Was Won. And with the white pieces, we have Pavel, Eljanov, and with the black pieces is Hikaru, Nakamura. Now, as far as Eljanov is concerned, you must remember that at one stage he was all the way up to ranked number 8 in the world before dropping his way back down the rankings into the 20s, and with his play just at the World Cup on the live ratings, he was up to number 16 in the world, and based on the live ratings after this game, he moves up to number 15 in the world. And I mean, we're now in round 5, out of the first 3 rounds, he won all 3 of those rounds in the under the classical time control with 2-0, 2-0, 2-0. So by the time we got to the end of round 3, he was on 6 wins, 0 draws, 0 losses. When he got to round 4, the first 2 classical games were draws, but he won that on the tie breaks. So after just looking at classical time control, after 4 rounds, he was on 6 wins, 2 draws, and 0 losses. And now he has started round number 5 with yet another win. But without further ado, let's go and have a look at exactly how he did that. We're looking at d4, d5, knight f3, knight f6, c4, e6, g3, bishop e7, bishop d2, castles, d takes c4, which is obviously, as you can see, we're moving very much into the realm of the open Catalan setup. Continuing with pc2, a6, a4, bishop d7, queen c4, bishop c6, bishop d5, bishop d5, queen c2, bishop e4, queen c1, h6, bishop takes f6, bishop takes f6, rook d1, a5, knight b to d2. And here Nakamura uncorks his novelty of the day. Normally, across the board, universally at grandmaster level, in this position, the standard move being played will be bishop takes f3, bishop takes f3, c6, knight c4, knight d7, which is a typical Catalan position for this variation. White has more space and a little bit more of a pleasant position, but black's defensive situation is ultra solid. And instead of giving you one specific game to be looking at, what I can tell you is when it comes to the open Catalan, you can find more games than you can poke a stick at that land up with this exact same position. But getting back to the game at hand, instead of continuing with this ultra solid normal type of position, Nakamura uncorked the novelty of bishop h7. So we continued with knight b3, c6, queen c3, queen e7, knight c5, queen c7, knight e5, knight a6, and here Eljanov. Now, bearing in mind with the novelty that was played, we're very much into Nakamura's home preparation, and it was up to Eljanov to try and find the best possible variations at the board. And here Eljanov comes up with a move that very much pushes to try and gain the advantage. And it's really hard to look at this and say that white will emerge out on the other side with a better position, because it leaves black with 2 incredibly active pieces. But be that as it may, Eljanov uncorked knight takes b7. And obviously after queen takes b7 and bishop takes c6, here Nakamura should have continued with something along the lines of queen a7, bishop takes a8, bishop b4, queen c6, queen takes a8 for example, and black has black's knight on the a6 square is looking incredibly awkward, but then again black shouldn't have any real problems within this tough position. But instead of that, Nakamura came back with queen c7, which is very much more of a passive type of position, which allows Eljanov to continue with bishop takes a8, queen takes c3, b takes c3, rook takes a8, knight c6. Now white definitely has some chances to push for the win. He has an incredibly useful fast pawn sitting there on c3, and the a6 knight, as we mentioned earlier, is an incredibly bad position. And not to mention the fact that the h7 bishop will soon be bullied out of the game by the strength of white's connected pawn chain. Game continued with bishop d8, knight takes d8, rook takes d8, f3, rook c8, rook a3, bishop d6, king f2, rook b8, rook d2, f6, and here Eljanov uncorks yet another incredibly powerful move with rook on a to a2, which looks to be gaining control of the open b file. Bearing in mind that black has only one rook, white has two, so therefore to be able to bring a rook into b2, say move it up to something like b5 at a later stage, and then double the other second rook into b2, will be an incredibly powerful situation, because then once that's done, Nakamura won't be able to do anything to prevent a rook getting into the 7th rank, and that should be it, just about bar the shouting. Also, in addition to that, the a5 pawn, black's a5 pawn will be incredibly hard to defend because of its entirely isolated position out there on the side, and white simply has to push his passed pawn, and Nakamura will have to try and get his pieces to play together to defend against that c pawn marching all the way through to the other side of the board. But that being said, the execution is obviously way easier said than done. Here we continue with rook b3, rook a d2, rook c3, rook b5, bishop c2, rook takes a5, knight c7, rook a7, f5, a5, and as you can see, it's looking more and more difficult for black to continue to play. Yes, the passed c pawn has been mopped up by black, but in the process has allowed the passed a pawn sitting on the 5th rank to emerge as an incredibly powerful threat against black position. Continued with king h7, rook b7, rook c4, rook b8, bishop a4, a6, bishop c6, a7, bishop d5, rook a2, which is a timely move, because as we all know, when it comes to playing in towards the end game, the best place you can possibly place your rook will be behind your passed pawn. If you place your rook in front of the passed pawn, you will at some stage need to move the rook out of the way in order to be able to get the pawn to the queening square. Whereas if you place your rook behind the pass pawn, that pass pawn will then be defended all the way through to the 8th rank. Continuing with rook takes d4, rook c2, knight a8, rook a6, again bringing the rook in behind the pass pawn. Here, for instance, Nakamura could have looked at g5, rook b2, king g6, rook b8, king f6, rook b5, king g7, which is still a really strong position for white. But in the game, Nakamura played rook d1, which allowed h4, h5, king e3, and after king e3, it's literally all over Bavel shouting, because what happens is that the white king has begun its march up into the black position, and with the pieces and the uncoordinated piece positions that black has, there's absolutely nothing black can do to prevent the king from marching up into this position. Bearing in mind that black's knight on a8 is effectively completely out of the game, because should that knight move at all, the a7 pawn will queen and the knight will be lost in the process. Game continues. Rook g1, king f4, rook g2, rook d6, rook g1, rook c8, rook a1, king g5, rook takes a7, rook on d to d8, g6, rook h8, check, which you could more or less say is the only possible blemish that you can see on Eljanov's play for the entire day, because in this position king f6 would have been way the stronger option, with king a6, rook h8 check, rook h7, and rook on c to g8 would have finished the game off with even fewer moves than what was actually played. But be that as may, rook h8, although slightly weaker, does not make any difference to the outcome of the game. King g7, rook c on g8, king f7, rook g takes on g6, rook a6, rook h7 check, king f8, king takes on h5, knight b6, king g5. And as you can see in this situation, white is quite obviously just simply winning. The black pieces aren't really playing at all. Now the h pawn that's now become the new pass pawn is unstoppable, because there's absolutely no way with the placement of the white rooks that either any of the three black pieces can get anywhere close to the h-file to be able to stop the h-pawn from just simply marching through and queening. Game continued with knight c4, h5, knight d6, rook f6 check, king g8, rook d7, and in this position Nakamura realized that there was absolutely nothing he could do to stop that h-pawn from marching through, queening, and checkmating him up on the 8th rank. So in this position, Nakamura resigned, and which leaves him with an immense mountain to climb, albeit with the white pieces tomorrow to be able to level the match. So Nakamura has to win to survive. The other three games in round 5 of the World Cup all ended in draws, so it'll be interesting to see what transpires in those classical games as well. 4 classical games tomorrow to wrap up around the classical part of round 5 of the World Cup here in Baku, and we'll be taking obviously a close look at that. But as far as this position is concerned, that is how the game was won. Feel free to share this video out amongst all of your chess friends. Give this video a thumbs up if you like the content, a thumbs down if not, that way I know what to be putting out in the future. And last but by no means least, down at the bottom of the screen, especially if you're watching this on YouTube, you'll see a big red subscribe button. Hit that subscribe button, that way you stay subscribed to my channel for all the new How the Game Was Won video content that I'll be bringing out to you on a day-to-day and week-to-week basis. Stay carved up for the win, stay safe out there, I'll be seeing you next time.